Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Yeah. Thank you for joining our webinar today. So today we will discuss understanding translation, ideology, methods, and techniques, theory into practice. So translation is not simply about changing words from one language into another. It is a process that involves choices. So these choices are related to meaning, culture, and the target audience. In translation studies, translators are not neutral. Every translation reflects certain decisions. So these decisions are influenced by ideology, methods, and techniques. This idea is supported by Peter Newmark, who states translation is a craft consisting in the attempt to replace a written message in one language by the same message in another language. This quote shows that translation is not mechanical. It requires careful judgment and strategy. Therefore, understanding translation, ideology, methods, and techniques is very important, especially for students of translation. Okay, the objective of today's webinar are as follows. First, to understand the concept of translation ideology. Second, to identify different translation methods. Third, to recognize various translation techniques. And finally, to apply these theories in a practical case analysis. Now, let me briefly explain the overview of today's discussion. We will start with translation ideology, then we will move on to translation methods, and after that we will discuss translation techniques, and lastly we will analyze a short case study. Without further ado, I would like to hand over the presentation to the next presenter.
Okay, thank you, Lutfia. I will continue with the presentation on ideology in translation. In this section, I will discuss ideology in translation. When you hear the words ideology, perhaps what immediately comes to mind is politics. But in translation, ideology has a different meaning. In simple terms, ideology is a value system or belief about what is considered right and proper. According to Benny Hood, ideology is related to the concept of right and wrong in a community. This means that everyone, including the translator, always has a certain point of view. In the context of translation, ideology means the translation's beliefs about how a text should be translated. So, translation is not just about changing words from one language to another. In it, there are choices, and each choice reflects the attitude or ideology of the translators. The interesting thing is translators are never completely neutral. When translating, the translator is always between two options, whether to maintain the culture of the source language or adapt it to the culture of the reader. These two options are known as the two main ideologies in translation, namely foreignization and domestication. Next, now I will discuss the first ideology, which is foreignization. Foreignization is a translation approach that preserves the cultural element of the source language. So, the translator is not trying to change the culture to make it feel local. Instead, readers are invited to understand the foreign culture. For example, words like mom, dad, or uncle are retained, not changed to mom, dad, or uncle. The goal of this approach is to maintain the culture authentic of the source. With foreignization, the reader can feel that the text comes from a different culture. Lawrence Venuti calls this approach sending the reader abroad. This approach is important especially if the purpose of the translation is to introduce another culture or to preserve the original identity of the text. Next slide. Furthermore, the second ideology is domestication. Domestication is the opposite of origination. In domestication, translators adapt the text to fit the reader's culture. For example, the word uncle translates to uncle, mom to mom, and dad to dad. The goal is to make the text feel more natural, easy to understand, and not feel unfamiliar to the reader. In this approach, the reader does not have to adapt to a foreign culture. Instead, it is the text that is adapted to the reader's culture. Lawrence Venuti explained that domestication emphasizes three main things, namely fluency, readability, and clarity. In fact, a good translation in this approach feels like it is not the result of a translation, but like the original text. However, domestication also has its critics. If you adjust too much, the original culture element can be lost. As a result, the culture identity of the source is no longer visible. Okay, next. From this explanation, we can understand that foreignization and domestication are two different approaches, but they are equally important. Foreignization maintains the source culture and transports the reader to a foreign world. Meanwhile, domestication adjusts the text to feel natural to the reader. Nothing is completely right or completely wrong. The choice of ideology depends on the purpose of the translation, the needs of the reader, and the context of the text. In conclusions, translation is not only a linguistic process, but also a cultural process. Every word choice made by the translator reflects a particular value, point of view, and ideology. Therefore, translators not only move words but also move meanings, cultures, and words. Okay, I think that's enough from me. I'd like to pass it on to Richa to continue. Richa, please go ahead. The time and place are up to you. Thank you.
Okay, for this slide, I will explain that translation methods are strategies used by translator at the text level. This means they are applied to the word text, not just to individual word or sentence. By choosing a certain translation method, the translation decides the overall style of the translation. Whether it will be more literal, communicative, or free. 3-4 translation methods help translation keep consistently and coherence to the text. This is different from translation produced, which focus on the small unit like word or parts. Next, please. The types of the translation methods. There are several types of translation methods. First, word-for-word translation. Translate each word directly according to the source language order. It is actually used for understanding the structure of the source text. The second, literal translation. Still follow the source's structure.
Unlike translation method, which focus on the overall strategy of a whole text, translation techniques focus on smaller units, such as word, phrases, or specific part of a sentence. And translation techniques are applied at the micro level meaning they work at the level of word or phrases. They are used to solve specific translation problems that appear during the translation process. And in simple terms, if methods are the general plan, techniques are the practical tools that translators use to handle particular linguistic challenges. Next, please. Okay, the next is the techniques. The first technique is borrowing. Borrowing means taking a word directly from the source language without translating it into the target language. This technique is commonly used for technological terms, international vocabulary, brand names, or cultural elements that are already familiar to the readers. For example, like internet, it remains internet, and download remains download. In everyday subtitles, we often see sentences like he forgot his password, translated as dia lupa passwordnya. Here, the word password is directly borrowed from English. The, and the translator keeps the original terms because it is already widely understood by Indonesian readers. Next, the the, the second technique is modulation. Modulation involves changing the perspective or point of view of the sentence in order to make it sound more natural in the target language. For example, it is not difficult. Instead of translating it literally as ini tidak sulit, it can be translated as ini mudah. The meaning remains the same, but the perspective changes from a negative expression to a positive one. Another example, it is not impossible, can be translated as itu mungkin atau itu tidak mustahil. Modulation helps translators avoid rigid or unnatural expressions and ensures that the translation flows naturally in the target language. Next, the third technique is adaptation. Adaptation is used when there is a cultural element in the source language that may not be familiar to the target audience. In this case, the text it may be adapted as dia bermain sepak bola setiap akhir pekan. Here, baseball is adjusted into sepak bola to make it more relatable for Indonesian readers. Adaptation is often used in children's literature, advertisement, and subtitles where cultural understanding is very important. Next is the fourth technique is transposition. Transposition occurs when the translator changes the grammatical structure of the sentence while maintaining the original meaning. For example, she decided to leave can be translated as dia mengambil keputusan untuk pergi. In this case, the verb decided changed into the noun phrase mengambil keputusan. This shift in grammatical structure is common because English and Indonesian have different grammatical patterns. Transposition helps make the translation sound more natural and grammatically appropriate in the target language.
Okay, so in this slide, so now I want to show how the theory from what we just learned before
is actually used in real translation. So I made a simple short text in here. Uh, After the long fasting month, Muslims celebrate Eid al-Fitr with family gatherings and traditional dishes. Yang artinya, after the long fasting month, setelah bulan puasa yang panjang, Muslim celebrate Eid al-Fitr with family gatherings and traditional dishes. Umat Muslim merayakan Idul Fitri dengan berkumpul bersama keluarga dan menikmati hidangan khas. So we gonna find the ideology, method, and techniques. In this translation, I think it uses domestication. Why? Because the translation sounds very natural for Indonesian readers. For example, there is Idul Fitri in here, right? That it becomes comes from Idul Fitri, which is more familiar for Indonesian people. So instead of keeping the foreign feeling, the translation adjusts to the target readers. That's why I categorize it as a domestication, not foreignization. And then method, I think the method in here it use communicative translation because the main focus is delivering the message clearly and naturally, not copying the exact structure from English. And the sentence structure is adjusted so Indonesian readers can understand it easily. Because the communicative translation, the goal of communicative translation is clarity, not being literal. So it the communicative translation. Now for the techniques, there is three that using techniques in here in this text. There is Idul Fitri, and then family gatherings, and traditional dishes. Yeah. Next. Okay, now let us apply what we have learned by identifying the techniques used in the following sentences. Example 1, he forgot his password. Dia lupa passwordnya. The technique used here is borrowing. And number 2, it is not impossible. Itu mungkin. This example shows modulation because the negative expression is changed into a positive one. Number 3, he plays baseball every weekend. Dia bermain sepak bola setiap akhir pekan. This is adaptation since the cultural element is adjusted. Number 4, she decided to leave. Dia mengambil keputusan untuk pergi. This is transposition because the grammatical structure changed from a verb to a noun phrase. From this example, we can see that translation techniques help translators handle specific linguistic and cultural problems at the word and phrase level. Next. To conclude, translation techniques are essential tools in the translation process. They operate at the micro level and ensure that the translation is accurate, natural, and culturally appropriate. Understanding these techniques allows translators to produce better and more effective translation. Maybe that's all from me. Back to the Nur Lutfiah. Thank you. Okay, next we'll present by Cahaya Ningrum. Okay, next is question and answer session. Whoever want to ask a question, you can use the feature raise hand at the bottom of your screen. Whoever want to ask, please raise your hand with the feature on this Google Meet. Anyone has question? Okay, Nisrina. Oh, Nisrina, you can ask the question. Okay, thank you, Nisrina. I'll keep your question and we will answer your question later for whoever want to ask again. Okay, Najwa Rizky. Can you repeat your question, please? Okay, thank you. We'll keep the question and answer the question later. Anyone has any question? We open for one question. One more. Is there anyone has question again? Let us know in the comment section down below. If there is no, we will answer the first question from Nisrina. Richa Amelia, you can answer the question, please.
Okay, I will answer Nisrina's question. How do translators decide which translation method should be used for the text? So the translation decide the translation method based on several factors, such as like a purpose of the translation and the type of text and the target audience. For example, academic or legal texts often require faithful or systematic translation to perceive accuracy. On the other hand, text made at general readers usually use communicative translation to ensure clarity and reliability. Therefore, the choice of translation method depends on how the message should be delivered and by the target readers. Can you get what I mean?
Okay, for the second question, we'll answer by Rahmadalena. For Rahmadalena, you can answer the question, Najwa.
I would like to answer a question from Najwa. So the question is, how do translators determine when to use pagination and when to use domestication? So determination of ideology depends on several factors: the purpose of translation, the target audience, the type of text, the cultural context, and the function of the text. For example, children's educational texts usually use domestication, meanwhile classical literary texts often use pagination to preserve cultural authentic. That's it. Did you get my point? Okay, thank you for your question.
Okay, so that's all from Madalena and Richa Amelia for the answering the question. Thank you so much for answer and asking the question. So before we officially close this webinar, we would like to thank you for everyone for the insightful questions and also the active participation. So from today's discussion, we can conclude that translation is not only about transferring meaning, but also about making strategic decisions influenced by ideology, methods, and techniques. Understanding these concepts helps us become more critical and responsible translators. We truly appreciate your time and attention. Thank you for joining our webinar. Have a great day and see you in another academic discussion. Thank you.